Hi, it's Alison from Digi-teach. Welcome to part 1 of your free course. Now this course is all about teaching online. Don't worry if you're already teaching, this is going to be super interesting for you as well. If you're just starting to teach online or you haven't yet started and want to, then this is a really interesting free course for you. I'm going to go through things step by step, and I'm going to show you the possible pathways that are open to you should you want to progress down them. And I think you will, because teaching online is a very profitable, interesting and kind of productive business industry stroke job career to be involved in. So let's get started. First of all, I just want to highlight that there's quite a lot of marketing involved in this course, and that's because I'm going to show you how to market yourself to students both nationally and internationally. Okay, so let's get into the first part of the video. So a good place to start really is what I did, because I used to be just an online teacher, probably just like some of you are, or some of you want to be, and I have also been a mainstream brick and mortar teacher as well, and I kind of combined a few of those things together to arrive at the point I'm at now. Now what happened was I still do have a language school. It's done very, very well. I teach modern foreign languages in it. I don't teach English in it. I teach modern foreign languages. And I used to go around to and teach lots of groups and one-to-ones. However, I was working flat out every day of the week. And eventually I had obviously had to bring in some teachers to come and work with me. But I came to a point where the acceptable price point, which was the amount that people were willing to pay for it, was not really giving me a high enough profit margin, if you like. So I started to look into different products and different things that I could do to grow my business and obviously, you know, to make it more profitable. And one of the ways I have done this is through online teaching, because obviously the online education industry is absolutely booming, and Forbes have estimated it to be something crazy, like 347 billion pounds worth in dollars worth, sorry, in value by 2025. So really everything is moving towards online education, and this is where schools and other one-to-one groups are going to really fall behind. Now let's rewind a little bit, because you're probably not at the stage of wanting to grow a fully fledged business quite yet, or maybe you are. But let's just look at teaching independently. What exactly does it mean? Well, teaching independently means that you aren't reliant on other big platforms or other big contractors to provide your clients and students for you. It means you're finding them yourself. It means you're creating a good relationship with them, and they are booking directly with you themselves. And this is the value of the relationship, because it means you can build trust and confidence with them. Now, why is that important? Well, if your students and your clients are booking directly with you, then it means you're going to have more control over your income. You're going to know in advance what you're going to have coming in and how much or how little. And you're going to be able to look at different things to make it grow. All the time remembering that you're doing this for yourself, you're investing in yourself and your business, and you're not going to have anybody to tell you how to do it. So the whole field of experimentation and exploration is going to be open to you, and that's going to produce some really, really interesting results. Now, the second point is you're going to have more control over accessing opportunity. The key word here is accessing. I worked for many years in management before I had my own businesses, and one of the things I found sometimes is that to People that were perhaps above you or managers that were above you sometimes felt a little bit threatened if you were more capable than them. I'm sure some of you may have sadly experienced this before, but what that does is it actually reduces your opportunity and it builds frustration, which isn't really very good for anybody. When you are an independent teacher, all opportunity is going to be open to you. Doors are going to open because of the things you're doing, the people you're connecting with, the marketing that you are levering to move into different areas all the time. Every day is going to be a new day that could bring so much more adventure and opportunity. The next point is you're going to have more control over where you live and how, because you're going to know what income you have coming in. You're going to be able to forecast. Now, there aren't many careers where you can forecast in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years your potential income. You'll have a rough idea, but you're not going to be able to really map it out. And in between that, so many things can happen. The recession can happen. There's no recession in the education industry. It's almost recession proof actually, especially digital education, online education. But more than that, you're going to be able to decide exactly where you want to live worldwide. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, you could just teach independently and try to optimize your teaching how you want to and the different groups or one-to-ones, the different client groups you'd like to. And by doing that, you would potentially have more control over the pricing of your lessons. But most importantly, you're going to be able to create and pivot your own marketing plans and campaigns. And this is where the truth juice is, because this is where you're going to be able to find, locate, pinpoint your ideal clients, your ideal students. And then the teaching independently, the optimization and the pricing will all come into play a lot more clearer and a little bit more orchestrated. Now let's have a little look more closely at the teaching income. How can you do this? Now, independently, as I said, you can, as I did, go and work for companies as an independent teacher, and that is a great place sometimes to start. However, you will find that lots of these companies can be quite strict, but more importantly, they tend to overhire. So they always have more teachers than they do students. And this has been a bit of a bugbear amongst lots of teachers if you're teaching English. I'm talking predominantly about the English market there as an example. But you can also teach your own private clients that you find, which is what I did teaching French. You can teach one-to-one and you can teach in groups, either face-to-face or also online as well. Maybe you could just do a little mix of the two to get you started. And that's exactly where I started quite a few years ago. But now I do this. I teach through programs and resources that I create. And I've written 4 curriculums that go over the 4 different key stages in England. So that's from early years right up to key stage 3. I also teach specialist lessons in languages online to schools and universities. So I'm hired for the term or quite often the year. A few places now I've had rolling contracts for quite a few years. So I do work completely online, and it's normally seminar sizes, so it's normally students of 60 plus. So you know the lesson rate is very, very good, and it's about a specialist subject. So I've studied applied linguistics, so that's really kind of an area I love. So that's something that I like to do. I also create online courses for my students, and one of the reasons why I started creating online courses was because I found so many of the resources that I was using for teaching so out of date. and it was just so frustrating. And specifically for modern foreign languages for young children, I didn't really find anything that correlated to the mind of a 5-year-old when it came to teaching them a language. And I sell products that I create. So from that, kind of the range of books and resources that I have written for modern foreign languages, which are award-winning 3 times over now, have grown into a range of everything from bean bags to bilingual song CDs to a clothing range, and obviously to online courses for children. So there is a lot of scope for creating a good income when you start to create the resources yourself. Now, you don't have to be an amazing artist or to do these things. I am quite artistic, but I did take lots and lots of lessons, and I did do lots of courses to show me how I could create the books, how I do all of these things. So I'm quite a professional at it now, obviously, because I work with Amazon and I work with great big booksellers. So obviously the books have to be to a certain standard. And obviously the other things, I do the designs for them, and obviously I outsource the printing, that sort of thing. I don't do the printing, all of that's done for me. But this is just to really demonstrate to you that from one idea or a specialist subject, something that you really are very passionate about, this is just to show you how far you can grow something completely on your own with very little resources. And I did not put a lot of money into this because actually I didn't have a huge amount of excess money. I'm a single parent to 2 children who are now teenagers, and obviously my business, it takes quite a lot to keep ticking over a language school. So this was something that I started really on the side to give me the resources, like I said, for the lessons I was teaching. Now let's have a look. If you're already working, what sort of things could you do? Don't think because you're working you can't do this, because you absolutely can. That's how I started. You can start to build things on the side, and it's easy to do if you decide when you can do this and you allocate specifics. Now that sounds easy, kind of just to do like that and to say it, but it is, as long as you just do bite sizes. Don't bite off more than you can chew. And whilst you're doing that, start to build an audience, build a following, develop your warm circles. Now, you don't have to have a brand at the moment and a logo and know your trading name and all of these types of things. That's not important. What's important at the moment, at the start, is to create and develop a meaningful and a relevant relationship with the people on your audience, your future clients, the people that you want to teach. That's what's important. And actually, if you have that relationship in place, they quite often don't really care too much about how the logo looks and all these other things. My students, I'm on the 3rd generation now of some of my students, and the families come back to me again and again and again with siblings, cousins. So this just goes to show that the relationship element is really, really important, and you can't do that when you work for a platform or someone else. You can't do that. You can only do that when you are doing it independently. But stick a deadline, make sure you create a deadline and stick to it. So that means literally writing down the date on a calendar or in your book or on your iPhone or wherever it is, the date that you want to have X, Y, and Z done. Now, don't think about perfection. This is about taking action. It's not about perfection at this point. It's about taking action. So make a date, make a deadline, and stick to it. That's what you need to do. Now, if you're lucky and you've got kind of lots of free time, or you're not really working at all yet, then you can kind of do everything that we've just talked about for people that are working, but you're going to accelerate it. So you're going to do exactly the same steps, but you're going to start teaching as soon as possible, and that's to gain experience. If you're already teaching, then you're going to move on to the third step, which is about developing your subject area, or people will call it their niche. You need to develop your area, you need to identify your subject, identify your niche, and you need to become a specialist at it, because that is where you're going to build your own. It's really important. So don't go about this part too quickly, because you're going to be investing your time, your energy and your resources later on down the line into this. So this part about developing your subject area, identifying it, is really, really, really important. Most of all, get as much experience as possible, even if it's working for an online platform that actually you don't think is very, very good pay at the moment. Because what this is going to do is this is going to highlight the things that you don't want to do as much as the things that you do want to do. And that process of evaluation is very, very, very important. When you're working independently or you own your own business, you can lose so much time and money in the I don't know, can't decide mindset. So all of this is going to be giving you information which is going to make you make great intuitive decisions based on fact and knowledge later on down the line. And we're going to be going more into that on the marketing element side of things in the next part of the lesson. But for now, what you need to do is take action. Now, I'm not saying you have to rush out now and get a job, but start mentally processing this and thinking, okay, when I get to the third lesson, the third and final free part of this lesson, what steps do I want to do? What could I do? Get a notebook out, write down the things you want to do, don't want to do, things you want to find more out about, things that you're unsure about, and just write them down and date it. That's very important. Okay, and I just want to highlight as well that on the third day, I'm going to have something really special for you, okay? So you don't want to miss that, the third lesson. But lesson 2 is going to be all about how to get learners, how to get your students. So hopefully you've already made sure you've whitelisted this email address and you're going to be looking out for the email tomorrow. Until then, have a great evening or a great day wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.